Good morning. Chapel will begin momentarily. Please do make sure all phones are silenced, etc. And this is a stay seated chapel, but also please do stay attentive and help us create a quiet space.
I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me, and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of an horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. And he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our God. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in the Lord. Blessed is that man that maketh the Lord his trust, and respecteth not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies. Many, O Lord my God, are thy wonderful works which thou hast done, and thy thoughts which are to us word. They cannot be reckoned up in order unto thee. If I would declare and speak of them, they are more than can be numbered. Sacrifice and offering thou didst not desire. Mine ears hast thou opened, burnt offering and sin offering hast thou not required. Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, I delight to do thy will, O my God. Yea, thy law is within my heart. I have preached righteousness in the great congregation. Lo, I have not refrained my lips. O Lord, thou knowest, I have not hid thy righteousness within my heart. I have declared thy faithfulness and thy salvation. I have not concealed thy loving kindness and thy truth from the great congregation. Withhold not thou thy tender mercies from me, O Lord. Let thy loving kindness and thy truth continually preserve me.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Garnett, upper school English teacher, assistant upper school dean, father of two Trinity alums, Lulu and Evie Jane, and husband to Mrs. MG, which is often not known. Father Russell is away on the senior retreat and asked me to share today, and I'm happy, if a bit nervous, to be here with you. In this season of Epiphany, we celebrate Christ's appearance. The theme of Epiphany is the revelation of Jesus as the light of the world. Epiphany is revealing who he is at a personal level too. Of course, the word epiphany also refers to an illuminating discovery, realization, or disclosure, to cite Webster's. Epiphany addresses the divine, but also aha moments in our everyday experiences. As a Christian, logically it follows that I always celebrate Christ's appearance, both historically and in my own life. To be honest, though, one epiphany has not been enough for me. The plural form epiphanies speaks more accurately to what has been for me over many decades, various light bulb moments when I've been reminded of God's presence. And I'll share some moments from my life with you, these various epiphanies. One epiphany I had when reading Psalm 40, as Elizabeth did earlier, was my need to wait patiently for the Lord and in all circumstances. I needed to not focus on outcomes in my life. I needed to focus on gratitude, even in difficult times. This epiphany, though, was relatively recent, definitely before TikTok. Let me retrace some of what preceded this most recent epiphany. As a child, I knew I didn't create the stars in the sky or the waves at the beach or sandhill cranes milling about in the quad or the fragrance of orange blossoms or my parents' love. Tiny green frogs on the sliding glass doors of a childhood home captivated me. Music and art and beauty brought me joy, and they still do. I was enchanted by the world. Cicadas singing at dusk, homemade cookies. I suppose I understood there was a loving creator experienced in everyday life, but I was just a kid. I started wearing glasses in 4th grade, so I then could distinguish leaves moving in the breeze, so that was another epiphany. At age 12, I experienced a profound epiphany while serving as a church acolyte. This one Sunday morning, the older acolyte standing beside me seemed to talk with God during the Lord's Prayer. He wasn't reciting a poem. It was a type of conversation. And something about his tone suggested he was also listening in this conversation. It was not one-sided. It was a prayer. It was many things. I thought, oh, God engages in conversation, and perhaps also with me? I had an epiphany. God revealed himself to me during what could have been a rote religious recitation. As I mentioned, I'm prone to enchantment. I marvel at the Holy Trinity. I also marvel at the recent deep space images from the Webb telescope and cattle grazing in a pasture at a Florida ranch, or my cats playing, or the compassion shown to needy families by this school during the holidays. So epiphanies for me can be of the spiritual sort, or everyday, or a blending of the two. So, epiphanies as a child, a teen, through college into young adulthood varied. And some of them included, I really like fishing, but I don't like baiting the hook. Right is right, even if everyone is against it, and wrong is wrong, even if everyone is for it. The Rolling Stones were and are the greatest rock band ever, and they're as old as my dad. I cannot shoot a left-handed jump shot or free throw. Springtime in New York City is cinematic. Laughter is the best medicine, and a first kiss is magical. And teaching for nearly 30 years has brought many epiphanies about myself, my patience or lack thereof, how to communicate clearly, and being open to learning new things from my own students. So thank you, many of you, for directly being a part of my life. I do strive daily to learn something new as an educator. But now for some heavier subject matter. Early in my marriage to Mrs. MG was the dire news that my mother had leukemia. I was 37. All were shocked. My mom was fit, had overcome breast cancer a decade before, but now leukemia? But maybe, just maybe, a bone marrow transplant could change her course and could prevent near certain death. I was assessed by Duke University's best physicians as being healthy enough to be the bone marrow donor. I was her closest living kin. And the procedure was a go, but would require some scheduling with Duke and lots of coordination, the procedure to be held up in Durham. But it seemed a miracle was within reach, and my willingness to co-endure a painful process, a very new process at the time, this was 2003, was well beyond what a caring son would, could, and should do. I was ready. But within weeks, my mom died of leukemia-related complications. I was a new father to Lulu, experiencing both profound joy alongside heartbreak I'd not expected. My mother's death was not the outcome I wanted or expected. And for many years, that darkened my worldview, even with Evie Jane's birth and numerous other blessings. And I ceased looking for epiphanies. I couldn't see or hear or notice any divine signs, even if they were right before my eyes. I was in a very lonely place, confined, gloomy, and I was angry. I knew to call upon the Lord or to simply listen, but I was unable and unwilling to do either. I'm now reminded of this quote by C.S. Lewis, the author of the Chronicles of Narnia. A man can no more diminish God's glory by refusing to worship him than a lunatic can put out the sun by scribbling the word darkness on the walls of his cell. Time passed when a dear friend, aware that I was spiritually, emotionally, and even physically adrift, suggested, "Just look over your shoulder. Jesus is right there." This sounded ridiculous, a very bad meme. But despite my initial surprise at this suggestion, I said yes, which began a series of new epiphanies. To again recognize God's presence, to savor the fragrance of orange blossoms, to have salt spray from the surf sting my eyes, to line judge volleyball games, to pick up the guitar after many years, to serve at my parish. I sensed epiphanies could become too numerous to count. In fact, with a renewed openness to God's marvels, to life's mysteries, to being available for God to direct my thoughts and actions, I've come to understand my mom's early death, and my response to that are what life on life's terms can look like. I don't wish to compare traumas, hurts, and losses, those dark nights of the soul we all have encountered or will encounter at some point. But I propose today a universal solution. It's not tribal. It's not political. It's not astrology. I'm not referring to manifesting, and it's certainly not trending, but it is timeless. King David wrote, "I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined and heard my cry." King David waited. I waited and listened. And maybe if you need to, you can too. Your tears, prayers, worries, anxieties, your joys, these may be unstated or unrecognized by those you encounter daily, but they are seen and heard by God. So I propose the following, which may serve as an epiphany for you. Unplug. Stop and smell the roses. Step outside and allow yourself to marvel at what you see and what you didn't create. Say thanks to God for your life, your intellect, your family, this school. Let that list be exhaustive. Then stop talking, and then listen. Could we close with the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Juniors, you're dismissed.